Yeah. Oh, you only started the recording now?
Yeah, my mistake.
No,
Um,
okay, so that's quickly summarize. I agree with having that path around there would be nicer. And then just share your ideas about the rose bushes versus our bushes and the paths versus the pebble stones and extending that path because yeah, I agree. Summarize that quickly. I think that would be good.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was, and I explained this in the YouTube video I sent over. I just walked around like from here, and I'm standing here. I'm looking to my right, seeing this, and I just thought, well, okay, something visible like rose bushes on this side. There's a post here. You could go just part of the way with rose bushes. And my thought was, okay, the further you get down here, the less visible it is, especially from the parking lot. So, if you want to keep going down here, that's fine. But this is more visible, just better use of your money. And then going here, as I walked all the way through here, this has kind of become dead space along the edge, like the outside 3 feet of um, this bed. Just come inward, put a stone barrier, and Jake, and I'm sorry, just yeah, put a stone, just a limestone, little like a one stack wall, 6 or 8 inches. Go
Yeah.
inside of it, then that bounds your mulch. All your plants are inside of it. Then you do the same thing. You continue on your roses on the eastern side, and then you can fill it with whatever you want. And then you can't. We looked at those plants, and you can go with 2 rows, but we just thought, well, number one, that sage get big, so you may want to do like a dwarf sage, and then you've got those red yuccas, which I sent a couple of photos of those. Those are kind of shrubby little cactus. They can get big and stuff. They flower once a year. Sometimes a lot of the year they kind of look like tumbleweeds, but they're a pretty average xeriscaped plant selection. So in the past, we'd actually done yuccas, so like just those standing yuccas. But the landscapers hit them so much with the weed whackers, they just fell over, so it killed them. Um,
Yeah,
so
I think we would just go with the bushes and the path and the limestone here. And just skip those, just put the rose bushes in for now.
yeah, yeah, whatever works.
Yeah, because like the yuccas would go where your current path is in this altercation. So we just cut some stuff out of the bid and alter stuff around. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm more than willing to present it to the board and see what they have to say about it.
Okay.
Uh, all right. Uh, I think we got the ideas for this area. What's your next area?
Yeah. Just one other note about this DG.
Yeah,
It's going to be bounded by the curb
yeah.
that is kind of old. And if you mess with that curb, then you've got this decomposed granite that is going to spill out. So that may be a mess. I don't know what you're
I
going to.
I think because we're so for one thing we're looking to try and do the parking lot. We're really pushing for the parking lot. We're pushing for the deck. We're pushing for fixing the spa. We're pushing for fixing the gym. So because we're doing the parking lot and that curb is there, maybe we only put in rose bushes for now and leave these other altercations as like a plan that we do after the parking lot.
Yeah. Well, if I do a limestone wall, you could go from here inward now.
Yeah, you could do the limestone wall, but then if we do the work of the pathway and then we tear out that curb and are putting a new parking lot, all that work will have to be redone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a caution. So,
Yeah. So I think what I like over here is rose bushes, and rose bushes can happen, and the limestone wall can happen. And then the other stuff should be planned for in the future.
gotcha. Yeah, that
Yeah.
I would, hey, Daniel,
Yeah.
I would recommend waiting to do that limestone curb and the pathway at the same time because just having limestone curb in there and the rose bushes, it's going to look like the limestone curb doesn't really serve any purpose until you
Yeah.
put that pathway in there. So
And
I would
so
just recommend doing that. It's the pathway and the curb at the same time.
how do you feel about just doing rose bushes and doing them along the side there, the new the new ones instead of the other bushes? So going rose all wrapping around that corner. You know what I
Just
Yeah,
mean?
that'd be fine.
Yeah,
just
and like for now, just do roses, and when we have plans for those pathways, because yeah, if you think about it, the parking lot is gonna tear up all of the curbs in this picture. So even our pathways there on the far left here that we're not talking about touching, that might need to all be fixed after we do the parking lot.
yeah.
So a lot of these pathways, yeah, it's good to get new ideas. And yeah, I hadn't even thought about what would happen to that area once you rip up the curbs. So good meeting already.
Yeah, that's just a matter which how you guys want to phase it and plan it. You could get away with a pretty cheap but pretty effective just planting project. The only thing is if you do dump mulch at the same time, this wall would help to retain it is all. So
Yeah.
whatever works. Um, so do you guys I was looking at these entrances
Yeah.
and is there not it seems like there's quite a bit of I mean there's plantings there that look okay. Are you guys going to put in a lot more plants, rose like the drift roses and stuff? Um,
That was the idea, but like we didn't actually, I don't know, no one else commented on those two bids. That was what Hannah really wanted us to focus on the entrances. So that's just what we looked at that one day. But those bids didn't gain any traction. And now, like this meeting, that one little where you just were on that slide, like if all of the curbs are disappearing, then the whole row of plants down. And yeah, I don't know. Suddenly, I feel like our project we should do them where we're guaranteed not to alter anything when we do the parking lot, but keep plans of what we want there, if that makes sense.
mhm.
Well, let me ask Daniel, is it in the parking lot bid that are they going to tear out all of the curbs or just
Yeah, we're gonna tear out all of the curbs, all of the existing asphalt, put in new 4-inch, new curbs, new lines,
okay.
everything. Yeah.
Well, in that regard, I mean, they're going because they need to do those curbs, they need a broad area to work within.
Yeah.
So would it make more sense just to wait to do any landscaping at all until after the parking lot and curbs are finished?
Yeah, I think these areas, yeah, we should leave them alone until it's finished.
Yeah.
But then we can focus because we still have a budget for it. And that, like one project that I've repeatedly said is, just around the property, how we have bushes up against the buildings. And then in some of those areas, we're missing two or three bushes, just doing a replanting in all of those areas to make sure we have live bushes, right? And we don't have patchy areas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that those areas shouldn't get touched by the parking lot project.
Okay.
No, just thinking of how do we pivot? I hadn't even had this consideration, but yeah, like on that picture there, only the roses in the back, and then skip the other two, the Texas sage and the red yuccas.
Yeah, that would be good. Anything you plant, obviously you got two growing seasons or two planting seasons. You've got now, March, April, maybe May,
Yeah,
to establish stuff, and then you've got October, November. So, whatever you want to plant, get it established, focus on that. especially if it's away from the curb, safe. Something like this for one, this one almost seems like, if I'm putting 7 red drift roses right here, there's already drift roses out there.
Yeah, why that's what that was the idea, was to keep the theme consistent in that area rather than like the drift roses are working, so let's put in more of them.
Just add
Yeah,
to,
they're
okay.
tough.
Yeah, those are fine. The ones on this side are kind of weak. The ones on this right side are actually pretty strong. These ones
Yeah.
just have more shade, so they just haven't thrived as much. Um, but yeah, I mean, adding to what you've got is good. So it just drift roses are they're resilient and tough. Sometimes they just different shade conditions they'll do better or worse. Uh,
Yeah.
we've got a lot in the entrances that are doing good. But yeah, assuming this is just the idea is just to add to what we've got. Um, if it's just additional plants in the same theme, then yeah, that's another reason. Well, if it's not essential at this point, or
Yeah.
maybe it is like, I don't know, you got the curb consideration, but then, well, if it's just planting more stuff in the same space, then maybe it would be good to plant it in spring and let it establish, and hopefully it won't be harmed.
No, yeah. Um, yeah. Right now I'm just you've inadvertently convinced me to pump the brakes on a lot of things. What do we think about this one? First off, I thought it was too expensive, that concrete sidewalk that you just opened.
Yeah.
I got
Uh,
a bid for half of that. I mean, I
yeah,
just called in. I mean, he didn't come on site, but yeah, I thought that was very expensive. And so I called, let me find that in my batch of papers here. But
yeah,
I got,
and as long as they've got business liability insurance, we should collect multiple bids, especially on something that expensive.
yeah.
But what do you
So
think? You like walking the property, Paul, so I take your advice a lot in terms of where pathways should be, you know?
I think that's a good idea. I think it's well used. Uh, and as well as the one between the tennis court and building 11, that those are good ideas. Because those are well used. Um, the I mean, okay, it's called A Plus Concrete and Asphalt, and their bid for a 3 foot wide sidewalk was $10.20 a square foot, which amounts to $8,120 versus the $22,000.
Yeah.
But that's just from over the phone. He hasn't looked at the site. It may need to add something for site work. Uh,
All
and
right.
and then he recommended, and I agree with this, that for a commercial or multifamily site, that it'd be 5 feet wide, because that 5 feet is what that existing concrete sidewalk is that it would be tying into behind
Yeah.
the pool house. That's 5 feet wide. So I'd recommend, and instead of $10.20 a square foot, if you go 5 foot wide, it's less cost per square foot. It's $8.56 a square foot. But it is wider, so that would be $11,340 for a 5 foot walk.
Oh, those are great bids.
Yeah.
Let's get them on the phone and meet with them for sure.
Okay.
Because Hannah was very disappointed that that was that expensive. I
Yeah.
remember the reaction of like, dear Lord, I thought, that was one that we wanted.
Yeah.
And I know it's city property, but like, is there anything we can do about behind building 7 where we all like cut across? Do you know what I'm
Well,
talking
we've got that slope. It's pretty good drop off, and so it'd have to be, like you said, ADA accessible.
about?
Uh,
Yeah.
so What I could do if I got approval from the board, I would be willing to call City of Austin Parks Department and see if we can come to some agreement. See what all is involved and go ahead and doing that on their property. Because where Patrick's got that drawn, that's pretty good. That's even pretty good slope there. All of that
Yeah.
area directly behind that pool fence. We don't have that much property back there that isn't on that slope.
Yeah, so this line right here, this zigzag from here to here to here to here is our property line. It zigzags and you get like almost no space behind building 7,
Yeah.
8 there. And then this path actually looks like, yeah, if you're going around the pool house, it kind of hugs you got your slope here by the pool fence. But then it goes outward and then you're kind of out in the wilderness here. So this is kind of like city.
Do you feel like that path right there should maybe, like, after we fix we're doing, the pool house, we're doing some digging there and putting some lines to fix the hot tub for good. But maybe we should just cut across and invest in that little area. Yeah, that right there.
Yeah, this little like wonky, funky space.
Yeah.
Old nasty barbecue grills.
Yeah, we're gonna remove those grills and we're trying to put them on the deck.
Oh, yeah, that's something I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Good
Uh,
idea.
yeah, I would say, yeah, I mean, this to be able to use this would be great to have this kind of be our space,
Yeah.
be good. You probably I
There's
mean,
a lot of river rock there, so it's not like fun to be there, but like, there's some areas that need river rock. So if I was also talking, there's a lot of stuff we can achieve for free if we're willing just to put in Saturdays of it. Like I'm willing to fill wheelbarrows of river rock and then walk them over to a different area of the complex and dumping them where we need them, kind of a thing. So like that area that's full of river rock and prevents us kind of from standing around and using it. Maybe it's something we should look to improve.
yeah,
Is
there's
it-
a bunch of rock and there's a bunch of like worn down, decomposed granite that's all kind of a mess.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, you could like if it were me, I'd put like floodlights all around this back fence facing every direction. I know you've already got some lights on the trees and stuff, but the more lighting you've got, better. Like even put like floodlights on the building here facing outward.
yeah, that's a
Uh,
good idea.
yeah, I mean, the biggest part of this backspace is it's just a creepy, dark, weird space that who knows? I mean, they took out some of the picnic table drug deal spaces here.
Yeah.
Deal space. I never thought about that.
The drug deal tables, the
I
drug.
think uh, I think someone requested that on 311 that they wanted them fixed, and then the city just came and got rid of them because they didn't want to serve them. I think
Oh,
that's the story it
nice.
held. So that we wanted nice picnic tables, but instead we got none.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right. What else?
So future tense, well, okay, within this bid package, this little space was touched with a bid. This peninsula was not.
I think that little space, so that little peninsula that you just talked about, I want to put two more crab myrtles there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what's the grasses that they're currently growing beneath the only Craig Myrtle that's there. So once those two Craig Myrtles would be established, we'd put in those same grasses that I think you put in 2018. Yeah,
Okay.
that real red peninsula. Uh, yeah, on your right. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, we had
and then
a
I think the area in front of the clubhouse needs a more major structural renovation. Again, like more ADA compliant, because I think whatever wheelchair access was there has been uprooted literally by the live oak.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, overall. nothing. I mean, nothing is really ADA because we get
No, but I think we do have a wheelchair ramp there at the moment. But then they have to go kind of like off-roading on concrete to get into the pool. Oh, I think it's like a weird access point.
yeah, this is probably the only thing close to ADA,
Yeah.
the little handicap space. But yeah, nothing actually letting you get into the pool.
So
And then
the ramp itself is in good shape, isn't it? Is it just those concrete pavers that are kind of pushed up and
yeah.
make it
Yeah,
non-compliant?
the ramp itself is good. And then I think it has to cross an area that's bumpy to get to the
Okay,
pool gate.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right, because there is like a ramp that goes
Yeah.
all the way along there.
But it's labeled there.
Yeah. And then when we do the parking project, if you look at like the corridor there on building 6 that we can barely see on the left of this image, right there where our friend lives, this little area in front of that last corridor of building 6, we want to make that corridor ADA specifically because there's, like Rick, CJ, and Terry. Like, we have 3 elderly people living right there that are owners.
Like just in this interior.
Yeah, yeah, like that space, and then specifically leading into the stair on the far right there. There.
Okay.
Um, yeah, we wanna take care of the old people. So Paul, if you have any requests, some people are getting ready for wheelchairs, so we wanna make it ready for them.
Cool.
Yeah. Do you
Okay.
guys have any ideas for the giant concrete pad in front of the gym?
Like
No.
this more basketball.
Yeah, our old basketball court.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is put a basketball goal back up there and let them play. But uh, apparently that got there was complaints about people that are not living here using it. Uh, so
Yeah, we
no,
got that
I
with the
thought
track.
about the only thing that came up at one time was building a pavilion there, but I doubt it would get used. I mean, it's a nice size to have a pavilion, but would it ever get used to justify the cost? I just don't
Yeah.
see.
And then some people want community gardens, which I think are a nice idea, but then you think about all the homeless traffic right in that area, having our having food that we grow ourselves out in the open, or even locking it up, just not it wouldn't look good. I don't
Yeah,
know.
we've talked about all kinds of different stuff, like little kids' play areas, like like shade coverings type things. Uh,
Yeah.
we talked about, okay, can we just make this whole thing an amenity with card access gates? Uh, that kind of thing or whatnot. It's just,
Yeah.
could we like make this a joined area?
I
Um,
mean, are you saying fence that whole area, Patrick?
yeah, I mean, it's like, well, yeah. I mean, what would we do? Could we surround this whole area so that random people don't get in? Can
I
we?
just think too many residents park over there where it says 62 and walk to where you live, Patrick. Like,
Yeah, this
uh,
path to the
uh,
gutters is going to be
Pretty
what.
well.
So yeah,
uh,
that's going to be a problem. So yeah,
uh, yeah. I think we want to rebid for that area, and I'm still on the fence about the fence area, whether it should be roses just there in the beginning or bushes all the way down. I do like bushes all the way down, but I'll let the board members decide if that should be rebid or not.
okay. Yeah, the thing about those shrubs, make sure you pick out the right ones. Those were Yaupan hollies, which are
Yeah.
the shrub that becomes a tree.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, what? What becomes a tree?
The Yaupan hollies.
Oh, the Yopon? The dwarf Yopon will stay about 3 feet, 3 to 5 feet, and they grow slow. So you could use dwarf Yopons in there, and that would be okay. But the standard Yopon, yeah, it will become a tree, but the dwarf will stay small, and they're very slow growing.
3 gallon Yaupan hollies. Yeah, make sure this is not an enormous tree of a plant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually, yeah, the Yopon holly, it's called there is, I mean, that would need to be changed to dwarf Yopon holly, and then it would be okay.
All right. I'll make sure of that. Um, yeah, I think that's all of the areas. Then just any areas. Yeah, if you zoom in on that picture that's right there, I don't think we have 36. I don't think we have 3 feet of space between light pole and AC units.
3 feet between a light pole and AC.
Yeah. Like if you're gonna build one consistent path all the way down,
Oh,
which is
Okay.
why I think we went with like the pebble rocks just down there just to keep feet off the grass,
okay.
more or less. Yeah.
Yeah. Another, I did another second video where I'm showing these, let's see if I can pull it up. It's showing where if you walk past the building 6 space and you see those stones, you can see where they have a concrete footing. And that's how those things are best set. Let me just show. Oh, there's the tennis court. There's the interior. Okay, that's where I'm just showing, looking at the interior space. But here you can see where these are upturned. Previous landscaper set these, and they actually have some concrete on the bottom, and this lets them set into the dirt and not
Yeah.
kicked up. So that's a thing to think about. I don't think they did anything like that.
I think that was the idea, was that they would be set in with the dirt, right? So lawnmowers still ride right over it.
Okay. Yeah, and in this case, like the bids just said it was like 3 pallets of these stones, whereas these they actually I don't know exactly how they did it, but this is actually like you I don't know if they poured concrete and then set the stones into them, but there's like it's kind of like 2 layers so that it's permanent and it doesn't get pushed up or upended easily.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll make sure to bring in that consideration.
Yeah, there's the thing. And you don't see it when you look at the other side. Uh, no, it's not in this video. But if you look at the building 10 and 11, or the building 10 to building 12 path, it's all submerged so you don't see it, but they've done a real good job of just
Oh
adding.
yeah. The one that goes to the mailboxes, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Hannah hadn't even noticed them. So when I brought the idea up, we 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 told him that that's how we want it when we were doing the bid.
Okay. Yeah. Just make sure they understand uh, that they're not just chucking stones out there. Space. And,
Yeah.
yeah, this is more about the interior and the drainage. That
Yeah.
was sick. Yeah. So,
Daniel, what is the budget that you have for doing landscaping this year?
We did it's $20,000 for landscaping improvements. Those trees that we planted, and I think a lot of them died, they were the trees are free, but the work to do irrigation and everything were $500 per tree. So we spent 2,500. So we got 1,750 left. Not that we can't go over it, but like, yeah, we are focused more on the big ticket items and knocking those out. Like especially like the pool deck. It's broken right now. It's a hazard. It's a bit of a liability. Can't have it broken, and we don't want to just slap a band-aid on it. We want to make it nice and usable.
I mean, those pavers,
No, like the deck by the clubhouse
oh,
has rotted wood.
oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's
Yeah, those
broken, and like it's we put some caution tape across there, and but
Oh,
yeah, it's just and decks aren't built out of wood anymore. They're built out of polymer composite.
right.
So we're looking to modernize that whole area, and since it's a facility that's currently open, the idea is that's why it's the priority, right?
Yeah, sure.
So the deck is the priority, and fix the pool. Um, but yeah, now after this meeting, I want to pull back even more on. I feel like we can do a little bit of that tennis court area, and potentially do that path. We should. You have my permission, Paul, and I'm willing to be with you to meet with that other guy to talk about concrete paths and getting a separate bid for that.
Okay.
That's you totally have my permission. Like we're already asking for these bids, right? So collecting extra bids
So
is
you want to have him look at doing concrete between building 11 and the tennis court too?
yeah, why not? Like what kind of solution would he come up with over there? What would he recommend?
Yeah,
And like two separate bids, that area and then the area by the pool that you
okay,
suggested having 5 foot wide. Um, yeah, absolutely. Collect those two bids and add that to the think tank over here.
okay.
Um, but yeah, what do you guys agree with me in terms of bushes, of like replacing where bushes have died?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, along the
yeah.
perimeters.
Yeah. Along the buildings?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm
Yeah,
just
it it kind it's that's kind of a tricky thing to do. Like for example, this was all put in. This is 10 and 6, and these were all put in and just died and along here. So obviously a good candidate for wanting to replace, but some of this is just like this is a very shaded space and these just never took off.
I think where they
It's
failed
gonna be a
completely,
challenge.
like if you have no bushes alive, we need to find a different option because clearly the bushes aren't working right. But then in other areas along the south side, there'll be 5 bushes and only one of them is dead, and the other four are very healthy, you know. So
Yeah.
that's the kind of replenishing that I'm talking about.
Yeah. Now I'll tell you, yeah, and I could point out like there's some spots where like say right here at building 6, these were all those kind of broad-leafed um viburnum type shrubs. They're little,
Yeah, there's it's only river rock there now, I think, and up to the
yeah.
balcony.
So these died, but they didn't die because they just weren't going to survive. These actually got really big, but then they froze. And then they
Oh,
froze again in 20, like 2021, 22, they froze, but then lived. And but then they died in the like 2022, 23 kind of drought. Because they just weren't watered properly. So
yeah,
I don't know. In that sense, they're maybe not as drought tolerant as the holly bushes, like these Sandanko viburnum.
yeah.
But they do pretty good and they do pretty well in lower, like more shade. Um, so some spots they shouldn't have died. So that might be a better place to replant.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, so yeah, some of these spots. Yeah, you can kind of tell there are some spots, like there's a little patch right here. There's just an outline.
Yeah, just dirt.
Um, Yeah, I mean, if you do it right, you could.
So Daniel, is that something you'd want to do this year?
I mean, yeah, like
Okay.
fill in dirt patches, replace stuff. Um, and yeah, I think pivot to interior landscaping because anything along the edges might get damaged, right?
Yeah.
Think about that. And I want to spend the budget, that's for sure. And also, land there's no better time to plant a tree than yesterday. So, you know, doing what we can and fixing up the areas that we can while like all of that can be in motion while we're still doing the deck and everything else and the parking lot.
Yeah. One thing, Daniel, if it gets into like sweat equity, you can buy, because I was noticing, you planted these little spots where you're putting in a tree that may or may not have lived. Like there's one right here.
Yeah.
There's a bubbler, right, that you installed.
Yeah. Yeah. We want to, any tree that didn't live just gets a replacement.
Yeah, you can buy like I saw like 6 foot tall trees at Home Depot for like $64. They're not that expensive.
Yeah. That's just get bigger trees. I agree. And do that as soon as possible. I'm willing to go out with you guys right now and check which ones are alive and which ones aren't. I also agree that those trees were just too small. That was my bad on approving that. But yeah, but
Yeah,
Joanne donated them, and she felt really good about it, and it felt like a good project. But yeah, they definitely she wouldn't listen. We didn't want to put. We wanted to wait to see if there would be one more freeze, and she wanted to get them out of her living room.
that's right.
So,
Where did you get those from?
some program I can't remember, some some local program.
Hmm.
But yeah, then she got even more for free. So we were just not going to spend any money at all. But if we can just get a bigger tree for $60, yeah, let's do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would just make sure like to be consistent. A lot of the newer trees are all uh, like chinkapin, white oaks, and Monterey oaks. So that's just kind of the standard for what we picked as a
Yeah.
good tree that'll last forever. Do you even know what are those trees?
I'm not entirely sure, but I do know that I wanted one more magnolia tree somewhere just because I like them. You know, um, I'm not there's I'm not against expanding trees. I feel like we already have 8 or 10 different trees on the property.
Yeah. Well, and we did, in 2020 was when we put in like a dozen oak trees.
Yeah, I'm talking about like yeah, we have like 8 or 10 different species.
Yeah. I mean, you could, yeah.
Magnolia we'd want to put it where it's got a lot of room to grow because they look best when they grow to the ground. I mean, they don't look that good when they're cropped up like you would an oak tree where it's you can walk under it. It's 6 to 8 foot tall before you get to the branches. The
Yeah,
magnolia trees, you don't want to do that to a magnolia tree. So they look best when they grow to the ground and they're broad. They can get pretty big. So you'd want to put that where you've got a lot of room for it to grow out into its fullness.
yeah. And along our southern border, I was debating if we should, that gets full sun obviously during the day. I was debating along the southern border of the property, just putting in more trees where we can.
Like in this backstretch.
Yeah, like right on our property line, just put in trees.
Huh.
Yeah. There's been a couple of these trees. There's like a few cedar trees and random things back here.
Yeah, but like that's an area that can grow out plenty, and it's even a zone that's pretty wet already. Oh wow. Is that our actual property line? We own all that space behind building that area?
Yeah.
Apparently so.
I don't know why we have this little corner here. It's a big old like 100-foot stretch.
Joanne wanted a pecan tree there. And we've had some requests for pecan trees and then some fears of more squirrels. And I'm like, we live on a green belt. We are not going to get rid of the squirrels.
No, the squirrels aren't going to go away.
Yeah. I don't think a pecan tree is going to add any more any significant
No.
population. But yeah, it would be nice to have nuts that once a year.
No, the critters that are doing the grubbing where you see them digging up in plant beds, those are the armadillos and probably possum or maybe even the skunks, but armadillos especially are ones that are doing the grubbing in our
Yeah.
plant.
And my cat too.
And did you say in your cat?
And my cats are also yeah, they
Oh.
like to that little area we talked about next to building 5. That's a bathroom of theirs, and so are the rose
Oh,
bushes by the tennis court.
okay.
Um, but yeah.
Well, we have a lot of ideas, and I think it'd be good to put them together on one site plan so that everything we know that everything is going to work together. And like for when we ask a contractor to, fill back in where plants have died, we're going to want him to know specifically where those are at. So it might be good to do an update to this plan that we're looking at.
Yeah. And then for next year's budget, I wanted to add mulching as a yearly thing to our budget.
Yes, absolutely, Daniel. That's a
Yeah.
good idea because
I like that.
I
That's
think
not
that's why a lot of our plants are dying is just because we don't have, I mean,
yeah,
they're not protected well from freeze and
yeah.
they're not.
And breeze and heat, just insulation
Yes, absolutely.
and retention of water. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. That's a
Yeah.
big,
That's something that's not in our budget, which I was like I only just thought about it because he was pushing mulch and I was like, yeah, I normally mulch when I work, so I don't not understand why we haven't been doing it. But yeah, we should just have that as part of it, like we have irrigation maintenance and repair
yeah.
and plant health is just mulching, right? Like, is there anything else that we should be doing yearly? But like, yeah, definitely mulching.
Well, it's insurance for the cost that we put into planting. I
Yeah,
mean, plants aren't going to survive very well if they're not mulched. I mean, some of them are tough and have made it. Well, we've lost so many plants because the mulch just decomposed and or washed away, and it's got nothing to protect the ground anymore.
yeah.
Yeah, you
Um,
don't have to mulch every square inch every year. You can rotate it. You can do 3-year rotation, 2-year rotation.
And it depends on the kind of mulch. I've got a sample of some I got. I went to Willesee Landscape today and also to Lowe's. There are more varieties. And I'm going to show you this, Daniel.
yeah,
That it's more of a, what's the word I had for it? But more of a long strand type mulch. The strands of this kind of mulch bind together where the chunky type of that black mulch, they're
yeah.
just chunks, and with the heavy rain, they float away. And so we lose so much of it that way. And
Well,
so,
it's good we're not getting a lot of heavy rain. No. So,
yeah, we're not getting that now. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think good ideas here and definitely considerations. I was just rushing. I just wanted to get some landscaping done, honestly. But I think let's definitely collect 2 more bids on those 2 pathways. And get those ASAP because we have 90 days to accept the other bids. Um, but yeah, do you guys want to take this to the streets and go walk around, or do you need more stuff on here on the bush, like on the map?
You want to just
Well, we should maybe,
just walk and talk for a bit?
yeah, I like walk and talk. I think it would be fun to go look at the trees and decide what tree we should put instead over there. Take a picture and just ask for bids. And yeah, that little 75H pink area that's on the screen right now, like that's where I want to put in 2 crepe myrtles. so we can have future shade, and those trees should hopefully be healthy. On the left there, the little peninsula in front of the,
Oh, this space, yeah.
yeah, that little red space. That's where I want to add 2 crib myrtles for future. There's this, yeah, there's also a little interior space where I think we can shift some bids to there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and let me throw in this space, which you see as grass. I don't know why, but
Oh, it's completely dirt, right?
it's just dirt. A
Yeah.
couple of myrtles, something here would just be nice. It's just pretty ugly.
Yeah.
Um, one of those areas that either we didn't touch or it just went to pot.
Also, like Robert, he planted his own plants in front of his unit.
Oh, I saw
Which,
Robert's. Is that Robert's little
yeah,
private?
little private garden.
Sorry, right.
But I mean, like, I have nothing against that for the most part. Like, as long as maybe we have an approved list of plants, or you have to, so you're not putting in anything invasive, gonna grow out of control, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
Um,
and I my personal project was planting Asian jasmine just in,
yeah,
1 gallon buckets in several places. So that,
yeah. But like maybe something we can do is, you know, see what residents are interested in the space directly in front of their units, and instead of doing any major altercations, we just give them a fresh bed to work with themselves. Is
right.
that an idea? No?
Yeah, as long as they fit into a master plan, I think that's another reason for updating this plan that we have, is so
Yeah.
that we have everything that ties in together. Yeah, I kind of cringed a little bit when Robert did his own thing in front there. But it's fine, but I just wouldn't want everybody to do that. I think, you know,
I think if we had a like the booklet I gave you, Patrick, if we had a list of plants and where they are appropriate,
Yeah,
then we can say, anyone who wants a bed in front of their unit and wants to work within these constrictions, we're willing to give you a bed, and you have to just promise that you only plant these plants.
yeah,
Like that would be a cheap upgrade from us. And then, yeah, I don't know. I feel like the more you get people directly involved, the more they're gonna keep the space pretty on their own.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, our previous plans is, here's Asian jasmine, here's bicolor iris. It looks kind of like liriope. It's just these long strands that come out and eventually flower.
Yeah.
Liriope is just like, there's stuff that's just like, it's kind of not what people just want to plant themselves, but it's just the safe staples that can fill stuff in. See, liriope, lantana, shrubs. This purple heart actually looks really nice.
that
Uh,
area where you're at right now, Patrick, that that should also be a priority area to upgrade, because that is one of our most visible landscape areas besides the main entrance off of Metric Boulevard.
Even this little strip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of those lantana have died in front under that tallest juniper there, kind of where your cursor is. Some of them will come back, but a lot of that stuff has died off. And then just to the right of where your cursor is, yeah, all that has died off. There's hardly anything left in that spot at all. It looks pretty crappy. So,
I think
you
the
know,
residents of building one walk across that just a little bit too much. Don't think anything gets left alone there.
uh,
Yeah, the guy that owns 2 pickup trucks that he maintains.
oh, okay.
Uh, that's a tricky area. Just because I don't think the people that live right there are always walking in the street. If that makes sense. Just
Yeah,
kind of across it.
yeah.
Yeah, we put in this path, but they don't use it. all the time.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong, and they just need new plants and need to be cared for better. But yeah,
Yeah, it's a tricky spot just because it's shaded and it's a big oak tree here in it.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
heavy shade.
And it's all full of roots, and so for that reason
Yep,
it's hard to plant.
yep.
uh,
Where do you guys want to meet?
yeah, I'm
I
writing
can't be out
down.
too long because it's pretty hot. I
We
can't be out.
can like I'm also available tomorrow morning if you want to walk when it's cool. Like we don't have to walk right now.
Uh,
Um, but for this little landscaping committee that we're doing over here, this inofficial but future landscaping committee, one task I think is yeah, list of approved plants. Um,
okay. Yeah.
yeah, and like those important distinctions, you know, the dwarf Yupon, holly, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Make sure we know what we're doing. Um, but yeah, list of approved plants, bids for concrete paths. Can I just leave that to you?
Yes.
Paul? And then
Yeah.
you
Do
just
you want to meet with the guy as well?
yeah,
Do you,
I can meet with you at the same time.
okay.
I'll like
I'll
to be
see what works
available.
for him.
Worst case scenario, you can walk with him and get the bid, but then the bid needs to be delivered to the board email, board of
Okay.
condo. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, but bids for the concrete paths. Um, yeah, I'm just thinking what we can do for now. So yeah, we don't or we do want to replant bushes where they are missing. What do you guys think?
It's probably going to be case by case just because you got to think about, okay, we planted something, either we planted something and it died for whatever reason. Um, Either just never got established or was too much shade. It kind of depends on the
Or the wrong variety. I mean, the viburnums are, some of them survived, some of them didn't. I think if I shouldn't say wrong variety, but it just for the extreme cold that we had in 2021, uh, and then to get hit again 2 winters later, just too many of them just didn't come back. But like the dwarf Burford holly, the dwarf Yopon holly, the dwarf Texas sage, those are tough. I mean, I've seen a lot of places where those have survived just fine.
Yeah, that is the dwarf Burford hollies are very hardy once they get established. But like for instance, like I was pointing out, yeah, like these ones just never got established.
Those were all dwarf Burford holly there. Yeah.
Well, it looks like a combination, but like at least these ones, these light green ones were dwarf Burfords.
Yeah, typically, I mean, when I was doing landscaping many, many years ago, those were one of the toughest varieties that we ever planted and never had problems with. So, yeah, that's unusual that they didn't make it.
Yeah, well, I say once they're established, the
Yeah,
ones they didn't do a good job of establishing with like daily watering. And that's where you get into, you know,
yeah,
the regulations, whatever.
yeah.
So you have to
Okay,
have the right strategy and a landscaper that can really help you plan.
Yeah. Well, okay. So bid for concrete paths, back bushes. And then yeah, I guess I'm just a big fan of trees in general. I think we're very tree oriented already. So I feel like anywhere where people want trees, I would like to add them, but I don't know.
I
Oh
wonder
yeah,
how hard it would be. Yeah, trees and myrtles. I mean, myrtles are such a just great thing to throw in anywhere, and they
yeah,
live forever. They give you color, you know,
yeah,
during these and some of these bare spots. I almost wonder if even these little tree slots you put in, just throw in a myrtle,
yeah,
this little dead space, it's just a useful thing to put in.
yeah. We there were two dogwoods and redbuds and one myrtle that we just planted. I think a couple of the redwoods or dogwoods survived. I don't think the one myrtle survived. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
I wonder, and the other thing that your landscaper, we went around and I just walked around with the landscape architect and picked out spots to put in a dozen or so trees and pretty much got it right. But you got to think about, well, what tree did we really put right here or right next to a building, and is it going to be massive, and
yeah,
how tall is it going to be? Uh, these little spaces are good for your yop and hollies because they just grow up 12 feet or whatever. But you don't want to put a enormous red oak on your curbside.
Definitely.
yeah. Well, is that it for the meeting? Sorry, I'm just getting a little hungry.
I believe
Yeah,
so.
that's what I got.
Yeah, I like it. I'm glad that we got the meeting before we decided to push those votes through because yeah, I think I like the idea of having a walking path there more than having plants. Um, but yeah, I think I'll just ask for I'll tell the board about and we want the concrete path bid in the middle before we decides on the stones or a concrete path. And then I'll ask the board if they like the bushes or the idea of having roses on that front corner, um, which one they like more. Or but otherwise, if they like the bushes, I wouldn't mind moving forward on the bushes all the way down the line of the tennis court, as long as they're the dwarf kind, right? And do, and then doing the just the rose bushes, where we talked about adding them.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's just stuff for you guys to work through.
Yeah.
And this video is just another.
Okay, I'm gonna walk from, nobody's really worried. Something is gonna be noticed. It's just not, value is visibility and walk this way, but
So
what I've done in the
just
past
for what it's
is,
worth, that should help. So okay, well, I'm gonna end this recording.